Hey everybody, how's it? Aloha, good morning. This is Geebz here, your old composer here at the Decomposer Lounge, where I'm peeling back the layers and dissecting the tracks you suggest. This is Loathe, a sad cartoon. This is number 21 of my 30-day countdown backwards to my 1-year anniversary, which will be November 18th of doing my very first reaction. And so I got a very special day set up for that. But in the meantime, I'm going through only the tracks, or in the songs, I mean, not the tracks, the artists that I've already done on this channel, and your suggestions are really helping me out there. Just go to that first video on my main page and watch that video, and it kind of guides you on how to make a suggestion of bands I've already done, so I can get ready for another year, hopefully, of the Decomposer Lounge with all brand new music and moving forward. So let's do this. This is Loathe, a sad cartoon. Like usual, guys, you know this doesn't support me or the channel. Doesn't support the channel, doesn't support me. Anyhow, these videos don't do a thing for me financially, so if you want to buy me a cup of coffee, link will be down below. It helps what I do with the kids. Also, link will be down below for the headsets, even the hat. I got a link down below for everything, but most importantly, Loathe, a sad cartoon. Their Spotify link will be down below, along with my Patreon. All right, guys, let's do this. Try moving a little slow this morning. Oh, shit. I went for my MRI yesterday, and just as I thought, frickin' tear. So now I got an appointment with a surgeon, and remember those videos I kept on grabbing my arm and going, man, something sucks here. 100% fing, that's what they say. Anyhow, the older I get, the better I was. All right, guys, Loathe, a sad cartoon. All right. First thing I want to say is that whole section I just listened to for the last 15, 20 seconds. What a great tone, wall of sound. Reminds me a little bit of the Devin Townsend kind of wall of sound, that kind of open tuning. Just reminds me of it. That bottom end, how they achieve that in their engineering, I'm learning, you guys know this, since I got my first 7th string and all that sort of stuff, and how to get those bottoms, and I got a lot to learn, but what a great, rich sound. One thing I want to bring up is at the very beginning, that very clean sound that they open up with. One of the nuances that I love when I listen to music in this capacity is the nuances that the right hand plays in that kind of a pattern. Doesn't seem like much, it's the picking hand, but you can hear the bitiness of the pick against the strings. which for me, with what little engineering background I have, really super intrigues me. And I love that sound. It's raw. It just live. It's what I would call a hidden nuance that just really rides a lot higher in the quality of sound than most people think. They go, what is he talking about? Just to pick against the strings. Now, you'd be surprised how that plays into the complete sound. Then they hit us with this huge wall of sound. And then what I love is they bring us back into this lulled kind of chilled environment. Now, I don't know. I think I've only done one other Loathe track, and that was quite a few months ago, so I don't remember the band. Please forgive me. You fans, please help me out with this. I don't know if there's a keyboardist in there. I'm going to lean on the fact that they got really tricked with their guitar pads. Excuse me, when I talk about guitar pads, you guys have heard me talk about pads on a keyboard that set an ambient tone. A very long, ambient, ethereal kind of vibe. A lot of times it's done with keyboards, but it can be done with guitars with really great, sidechain kind of like with a delay and a really long reverb, that has the mix of that reverb, up in about 80% for engineers. You know what I'm talking about. If you're not an engineer and you're just a pure listener, of which I wish I could be, and that's most of you, it's when you really add a lot of reverb to it so it washes longer. But during that area where he's singing, which he's got a great voice, there's that really, really super cool arrangements going on back there that are long and ethereal, and that kind of sucked me back in. Then, of course, they brought us back in with the power of everybody right after that. All right, let's keep going. Okay, I'm going to get back into this. A couple things I want to say. Once again, when they bring us into this softer passage in this track, you can really hear the washiness of the guitar, like they had like a chorus on it. In other words, it could have been a flange, could have been a chorus. And these are post effects that cause that swimming sound when you're hearing it in your ears, just kind of swimming back and forth. And you can hear the reverb or the delay of it ring out. What I really enjoyed, you saw me kind of go, okay, that's cool. When the vocals came in, it sounded like they were just actually using what's called a full 100% mix of the reverb. So the actual signal of the singing wasn't in there. So it sounds like to me, many different ways. It's been many years since I've done engineering. But what you heard was actually what was just only coming through the reverb processing. And that was really super cool, and I really dug that. Now and then, of course, as that passed through, you heard me kind of jump up. I was going, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. and they came back into it. But it was a little more lush, kind of a, still very powerful, but lush in the chords. But then you saw me go, like that. And the one note that the singer did at that point really, because I thought they were just kind of flowing and just getting into this kind of glide, but then he drops into this note where it's like a half step below where I thought he was going to go, which kind of made it this kind of little dissonant kind of tearing at you, like, oh, it's purposeful, but woo, that kind of thing. All right, let's finish up here. Stand by. Here we go. As I'm listening to this ring out, I was trying to pull out some of the last, bit of tones that I could try to formulate. Okay, this was probably leading into another track here. Those tones at the bottom, the bass on this was fairly wide. Like, it really was a huge part of the bottom. I know that's no surprise. Everyone goes, yeah, it's the bass. No, I'm talking about the way that tone was married with the tone, the very bottom end of the guitars. Now, I don't, since I'm not, my forte is not guitar, especially all the new tunings and stuff that I've learned about on this channel. That seems to me like that's why I kind of hearkened to Devin Townsend, because he uses those kind of really odd or very deep open tunings, which lends itself to like doubling what would in other words be a bass tone with it along with the bass. So it's a very unique thing, because the bottom end of tracks for me is everything when it comes to when power comes in. When I talk about the bottom end, it just supports everything, whether it's the bottom end tone of the guitars, the kick, the bass, it just to me is like that's the thing, man. But it just seemed wide. Like, you would never think of doubling. Like, for instance, we all talk about doubling guitars, right, to get that fat left-right separation when we're listening to some of our favorite bands that have that powerful, thick, rich stereo sounds. But what I'm hearing and what it feels like to me is these guitars are tuned in such a way that they're perhaps identical in the tuning of the bass, meaning there's unison in it, and you would never think of doubling the bass and going hard left and hard right for that effect. Yet, if that is what is happening, hard left, hard right with the guitar, really super low tuned, and then the bass is carrying it and filling up this bottom here, it is such an unbelievable kind of pull from right here, and that's what I loved about it. The vocals were great. The background vocals I spent a lot of time with, and I really enjoyed that too. As I'm listening to newer and newer releases, instead of, I still don't know what if this channel goes this way, goes this way. Spend a lot of time listening to bands that are no longer together, and best of. But as I'm moving forward and listening to more newer tracks of bands that are being suggested to me because of new release here, there, and the other thing, which there wasn't a lot of that going on when I was doing my first reaction because of COVID. Everybody was hanging back. Nobody knew what was going on. Now we have all these new releases. I'm just fucking blown away on how great the engineering is and the detail to tone and stuff. At least in this movement, or in these new genres and stuff. I mean, I'm still a classic, you know, rock guy kind of guy, and metal and all that sort of stuff, but also because sound for me evokes theater of the mind. These new ways of engineering and doing all this stuff is so crazy cool, you know. It brings that extra ethereal, that depth to it, and I'm so down for it. All right, guys, I just really went long-winded, but hey, I doubt not many people here. A lot of people, they'll scroll right to the song, hit it, and then dip out. It's a funny thing. You can see that in the analytical data I'm learning how to read and stuff. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. This is track number 21, the countdown from 30 to my 1-year anniversary. This was Loathe, a sad cartoon. If you're still here, type in I'm still here. It's always fun to know that a few of you still hang out. If you want to buy me a cup of coffee, the link for that, Patreon, headsets, their Spotify, is all down below. All right, guys, take care of yourself. Ooh, gotta get up. Oh, shit. All right, guys, take care. Aloha.